What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more Pet Shop Boys. And we're going back to their 1990 album, Behaviour. And the next tune is, How Can You Expect, is it anyone? How can you expect to be taken seriously? So it's the passive voice. Nevertheless, I do enjoy this. It's a title that fits somewhat into their idiom of using common expressions. This one feels a bit less common compared to, say, That's My Impression. You might hear that, I think, a lot more often than How Can You Expect to Be Taken Seriously? But it is something that people would say if someone is saying or doing things deemed to be beyond the pale, ridiculous, whether egregious or just outlandish and bizarre, or consistently saying one thing and doing another to the point where anyone who knows them is well aware that there's a disconnect between what they suggest will happen and what they end up doing. So yeah, ultimately it feels like there's perhaps a build-up. Perhaps it's like one particularly outlandish or egregious behavior, but it feels like maybe it's a culmination or a gradual accumulation of behaviors that are so atypical or undesirable that eventually the question comes, how can you expect to be taken seriously? You do these kind of things all the time, but then you come and you ask for something new, or you want to engage in a way as if I'm supposed to take you on the level. So yeah, it feels like there's a judgment. Now, as I said, it feels maybe more long-term, but let's find out what it actually is. This is Pet Shop Boys. How Can You Expect to Be Taken Seriously from the 1990 album Behaviour. Hard little guitar stuff. Talking about.
Tell me, baby, how you really hate publicity. How can you expect to be taken seriously? How can you expect to be taken seriously? Seriously. Oh.
it's interesting. That tune, in many ways, feels the same, or not the same, but it's in that familiar territory for their tunes where it's this dreamy, a bit pensive, a bit moody, but still very smooth and light atmosphere. But that guitar riff, it definitely added a different ingredient. And not that we haven't heard their tunes be a bit more, forceful and frenetic, but that particular riff, it really gave it a different flavor. It made it a bit more edgy, and the way the like vocal follow up at the end, seriously, that also it gave it a bit more like, I don't know, percussive R&B type of feel. So in one way, very much in the wheelhouse I've come to know from Pet Shop Boys, and then in a couple other ways, like working out some territory perhaps outside that main groove. So I enjoyed it sonically. And yeah, I gotta know, this surely is about someone specifically. And I love the description, the way it's like, you say you hate publicity, but there's this sense that it's very disingenuous and they love being in the news, maybe even, that whole any publicity is good publicity sort of attitude. But the idea that, they're becoming a star and like they're gonna take a lion's share of credit, that, maybe they don't deserve all of that. So it seems to be a pretty direct shot at somebody, and like, oh, and now you're out here supporting all these causes, even the royal family or something. So I feel like there has to be a specific target here. I am curious for the story behind this one. But yeah, sonically, it really did stand out for being a bit unusual, like, or at least having elements that you don't always hear in their tunes, even if the main feel of it is very much what I've come to expect. So another cool one. And it's interesting, it's like in this case the album title feels particularly relevant. Not that it hasn't, behavior, it's such a general term, and any action someone does in time and or in relation to others, you could count as behavior. But at the same time, it feels like this tune really hits on the central concept of the record. So I keep notions of the way that, even if it's not a formal concept album, I do often think about, as I go through an album, the way that the album title overall may relate individually to the tunes, or may be expressed in different ways by the tunes. So that was going through my head. In any case, I will stop boring you. Do let me know what you think of this one. I will see you next time. Peace.